Hey, if you're watching this, it probably means your family is going through something that's really, really tough. And I just want you to know we're going to walk through this together. This is here to help make sense of what's going on. So let's start. Okay, the very first thing right off the bat that you need to hear is this. You are not alone. Not even close. There are so many other kids and teenagers out there going through the same thing, feeling all the same confusing, mixed up things you might be feeling. Now, before we get into any of the details, we have to talk about the single most important thing. It's something you might be thinking about, even if you haven't said it out loud. You know, when something huge and difficult like this happens, it's totally normal for our brains to search for a reason why. And sometimes you might find yourself wondering, was it something I did? Was it my fault?
So, let me say this as clearly as I possibly can. The answer to those questions is a big absolute no. Nothing you said, nothing you thought, nothing you did or didn't do caused this. It is not your fault. Just let that sink in for a second. You are not responsible for your mom having ALS. It's a disease. Kind of like how some people get the flu or a broken bone. It just happens. It is not a weight that belongs on your shoulders.
Okay, so sometimes just understanding a little bit about what is actually happening can help things feel a little less scary. So let's talk about what ALS is, but in a really simple way. Imagine your brain is the boss, and your muscles are the workers. To get work done, the boss needs to send messages. Well, in our bodies, we have these tiny special messengers called motor neurons. Their whole job is to carry signals from the brain to the muscles, telling them what to do, like walk, or wave, or smile.
So normally, it works perfectly. The brain thinks, hey, let's walk across the room. The motor neuron messengers instantly zap that message down to the leg muscles, and the muscles get the message and start walking. Simple as that.
What happens with ALS is that those little messengers, the motor neurons, they start to get damaged and weak. And when the messengers are weak, the messages don't get through to the muscles as clearly. That's why your mom might have trouble with things like walking or using her hands, or why her voice might sound different. The muscles just aren't getting their instructions properly.
But, and this is the most important part of this whole explanation, the disease only affects the messengers. It does not change the boss. It does not change who your mom is inside. Her thoughts, her sense of humor, her memories, and most of all, her giant love for you, all of that is 100% there, same as always.
Okay, so we've talked about the body. Now let's talk about feelings. Your feelings. Because this is a huge part of what you're going through, and I need you to know there is no right or wrong way to feel about any of this.
You might feel really, really sad, and that makes perfect sense. Missing how things used to be is completely natural. Honestly, that sadness is just proof of how much you love your mom. And you might feel angry. Maybe you're mad at the disease, or just mad that life feels so unfair right now. That anger is okay. It's a totally normal way to react when your world gets turned upside down.
And of course, you might be scared. Worrying about your mom, worrying about the future, that's a really big one. It is absolutely okay to admit that you feel afraid sometimes. Now here's a feeling that might surprise you. Sometimes, you might just feel normal. You might laugh really hard at a friend's joke or get excited about a video game, and then a second later, a wave of guilt might hit you for feeling happy. I'm telling you, that is also completely normal. You're allowed to have moments of joy.
And that actually leads us to our next point, which is so important for you to hear. It can feel like you have to grow up super fast when this is happening, but you have to remember, you are still allowed to be a kid. I want you to hear this loud and clear. You have permission to hang out with your friends, to do your hobbies, to play, to laugh, and to dream about your future. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean you love your mom any less. In fact, it's the opposite. If you could ask pretty much any mom with ALS what she wants most in the world for her kids, she would say this: your happiness, your life, you continuing to grow, that is one of her greatest wishes. So, things are different. We know that. How do you stay close? How do you keep that connection strong? Well, even if some activities change, your bond can actually grow in new and really powerful ways.
I think this is a really helpful way to look at it. It's easy to focus on the things on the left, the things that might be harder to do now. But look at the list on the right. Watching movies, listening to her favorite music with her, looking through old photo albums, those are just as important and just as full of love. Because here's the secret. It was never really about the game of catch or the big meal. It was about being together. And that's something you can always do. Okay, as we get to our last section, let's focus on the one thing that this disease, ALS, can never,
ever change or take away.
Believe it or not, going through something this hard actually builds a kind of superpower inside you. You are learning things like deep empathy, real emotional strength, and a level of compassion that most people don't understand until they're much, much older. This experience is shaping you into a truly incredible person.
And so we're going to end with this. If you remember nothing else from our talk today, please hold on to this one thought. Through all of it, no matter what changes on the outside, this truth will never, ever change. You are, and you always will be, one of the greatest joys of your life. Nothing can change that.